Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a minute past 4 o'clock South African time. Welcome to the KISA monthly webinar. My name is Tim Anton Okai, and I'm a council member uh, with KISA and a lecturer at the Swan University of Technology. And on the technical side, providing technical support today is Ms. Helen Potkita, who will ensure that everything runs smoothly. The presentation today is from a company called Mindray, which is a gold corporate member of KISA. And the topic is IT interconnected solutions for hospital and emergency medical equipment. Our presenter today is Mr. Luke van Vyk, who is a qualified biomedical engineer and an AI enthusiast. With more than a decade of professional experience in the biomedical devices industry, Luke has acquired extensive knowledge ranging from the radiology/imaging department through laboratory to ICU and OR/theater life support. Luke has had the opportunity to collaborate with multiple medical professionals from South Africa and overseas, particularly in countries like Angola, Zambia, Lesotho, Eswatini, Turkey, and China. And currently, Luke provides expert support as a Mindray PMLS service engineer for the Southern Africa region, specializing in technical training and the engineering aspect of biomedical equipment, like patient monitors and life support equipment. During the presentation, please, I would ask you to keep your microphones muted to avoid background noise. And at the end of the presentation, there shall be a Q&A session. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat box. And at the end of the presentation, I shall read out all the questions and ask Luke to address the questions. I will now hand over to Luke for the presentation.
Thank you, Tim. I am pleased to be part of the presentation and honored to be invited by CISA for this opportunity. I will be sharing my screen now for the presentation. You just give me a minute. So, a brief introduction. My name is Luke van Wyk. I'm a biomedical engineer with more than a decade of experience in the biomedical industry. I am currently the service engineer for Mindray in South Africa, and I cover over 12 countries in the service department of PMLS. Starting on the contents of this webinar is the introduction on the Mindray Connect, namely our CMS system and the e-gateway. We will go more into detail what is the CMS system, and then why we use an e-gateway. Examples will be for the solutions of the OR, the ICU, and the emergency department. Lastly, we'll do a case study on the emergency department and how this is integrated. First off, the CMS is Central Monitoring System. For the Central Monitoring System, we use a standard computer for the setup of all patient beds, and we do this through a standard patient monitor, SETS monitor. This can be connected through Wi-Fi or a LAN connection. All of this helps the nursing staff and the doctors to report and give a diagnosis on one screen in an entire department of multiple patient beds. With this CMS system, you are allowed to integrate different models, different brands of equipment, not only patient monitors, but ventilators as well. Also, you can integrate infusion pumps and defibrillators as well. Using this system, the CMS allows you to monitor and do a quick diagnosis, giving you immediate alarm and identification of which patient or bed number has a incident. Allowing this CMS system to be incorporated with continuous monitoring, we have two devices, namely the N1 and the T1, as in the bottom left screen. This allows you to mobile a patient with continuous monitoring through a wireless connection. For the e-gateway system, this allows us to integrate our CMS system to the hospital information network. Also, this allows us to integrate through third-party software platforms through the use of a hospital level 7 protocol. This hospital level 7 protocol is connected to an external system such as the ADT system or server. This allows you to admit or discharge a patient from your existing hospital system. This will then give you more convenience, more confidence in admitting or discharging a patient, giving a seamless workflow in the hospital environment. This also allows you to give a patient record, patient history on all devices across the hospital and also your hospital networks. Next, we have more detail on the setup of the CMS and the e-gateway system. Now, how this integrates is with the Mindray Connect or M Connect. The CMS is connected to the patient monitor for monitoring, and then also we have the X-Link, Benelink, and the E-Link. This allows you to use third-party brand names to integrate into our system, such as the ventilators, infusion pumps, and defibrillators. These third-party devices then are integrated into the CMS, and the CMS will then thereafter connect to the e-gateway. For the e-gateway, it will connect to the hospital information system, to your PAC system, or the lab information system. A brief introduction on the setup of this is very basic and very straightforward. Our CMS system is a private network, so any private IP address can be used. Firstly, we set up a local IP address on the CMS system, and then we also include a local IP address on each monitoring device, namely the patient monitor, the ventilator, and the infusion or syringe pump. These IP addresses are then linked in a IP range on the CMS system. These IPs are then also collaborated with your computer network card. It's a dedicated system and it's a closed system, giving patient privacy. Next, we have the overview of what our CMS system is capable of. For the monitoring, you have your standard SATS monitoring incorporated. You can include the PAC system, and also for live monitoring on a video or camera system. This can be included into each patient. Each bed number can be included. For this video monitoring, you can include a future feature that will be available soon for the AI integration. I'll go into more detail on the AI integration. Next, we have the standard setup. This is what the matron or doctor or nursing staff will see in the central monitoring system, our CMS system. A basic view, and you will see on the left-hand side, you have a plus sign on the blocks. These are where your patients or bed numbers are included. For each bed number, as shown here, bed number 17 has its patient monitor and the option to connect a ventilator. All of this is then integrated into one view, and you can view, report, and control all devices in one bed and one patient. In more depth, we have a larger layout of what you can expect on a single bed or single patient. This is then integrated with the PACS system or MPPS system, and then also for the camera system that our AI integration will allow an early warning system. This early warning system score will allow nurses, matrons, and doctors to identify if or before an event happens. Also, the alarm system on the patient monitors is also integrated with a AI early warning system. As shown here, you can see on the left-hand side, it says news. This is an early warning score system that Mindray has developed for the average diagnosis to predict a potential incident and to give a more efficient response from the nursing staff or doctor. Moving on from the setup of your CMS, it is not just local in your hospital or hospital networks, but can also be viewed remotely. As seen here, it is viewed from a web browser. This is just a viewing station and can be accessed by any physician or authorized personnel around the world, allowing for expert analysis and live feedback. Moving on, we have the MWay device. The MWay device allows you to monitor a patient in recovery. A small watch wearable device that is connected wirelessly to the CMS or by Bluetooth can connect to a patient monitor. This connection allows you to have continuous monitoring on your patient while patient is roaming in or outside the hospital within the Wi-Fi range, giving you a early warning score or alarm if the patient has an incident during recovery. For the MWay device, you will see the next screen will show you the vitals of the MWay device. This is for a patient roaming, and it will give you an option of selectable screens or layout on each patient. As shown, we have big numerics, and then we have the history review of this patient, and then also a full layout on the ECG or SpO2 waveforms. Next, we will include the emergency department. The emergency department will allow you to have a immediate ADT, admission of a patient in an emergency situation, where the ambulance or a paramedic will start with a incident at a patient's house or outside the hospital. This will immediately admit the patient into the hospital that is closest to the ambulance. We will go into more detail on how this works. The ambulance system is tracked with a local or private tracking system and can be integrated with our CMS to allow continuous monitoring. These tracking devices and the remote viewing is done by SIM card on the Mindray defibrillator. For a overview of what this can lead to is the defibrillator admits a patient. During the paramedic treating the patient and transporting the patient to the nearest hospital, this information is conveyed to the headquarters of the ambulance services or medical services, and then from there it can be dispatched to the branch hospital or nearest hospital from the ambulance. This allows for immediate admission of the patient and live diagnosis by the doctor or physician. When the patient arrives, the treatment can be administered immediately. For the technical setup of the ambulance or remote viewing, we use a standard SIM card, and the network is normally a private network provided by the local internet service providers. This is installed into the ambulances and can include not only the defibrillators, but also the patient monitors, the ventilators, syringe drivers, and also a camera. This is then connected to a private network, a VPN, and from this VPN, the central monitoring system will pick up the device, and from the medical device, the CMS system will integrate it through the e-gateway to the hospital information system. And from the hospital information system, it will then assign or admit the emergency patient to a bed number. Lastly, we have a case study on how this is set up in a more detailed technical analysis. Firstly, you will have a private network. This is dedicated. You can have a public network also and have the option of including a username and password on each device for the connection on public networks. The SIM cards are preferably 4 or 5G, and they are connected on each individual unit for the number you require. These Wi-Fi SIM cards are only dedicated to this private network, this VPN server. This VPN server is then connected to the CMS system, and the CMS system can either be in a call center or it can be at the headquarters of the hospital chain. From here, you can dispatch or admit the patient as you see fit through the CMS system and assign the bed number through the e-gateway. This will also allow you to have a backup system on the database, and the database can be integrated into third-party software as well. That is the basic presentation for the CMS and the Mindray Connect. If you have any questions, you are welcome to ask.
Thank you very much, Luke, for that very interesting presentation. Please do raise your hand or post your question in the chat box if there are any. And while you're doing that, Luke, I have a few questions here that I would like you to address. The first one is, can Mindray IT solutions support third-party equipment, and how?
Yes, Mindray as the integration of third-party equipment, namely third-party medical devices. And this we do through a X-Link, or we call it the Benelink, and then we also have the E-Link. These have dedicated ID adapter codes that we integrate, and we use a serial port or network port connector for this. This will then be integrated into a in-series or patient monitor, and from the patient monitor, this will be displayed on the CMS system as a bundle or cluster for this bed. So yes, we
Thank you.
welcome third-party equipment as well.
And my next question here would be, how do you connect one hospital clinic to another using the system?
Connecting one hospital to another or a hospital to a clinic is when using our e-gateway system that you connect your CMS to the e-gateway, and the e-gateway will then connect to the hospital information system. And generally, the hospital information system or HL7 network will be dedicated to a specific hospital group. The second option is when we use a VPN or a private network, and this private network allows us, or a private server allows us to connect multiple CMSs on this server and then create one master server to view the second branch hospital.
I have another question from Simon Lupandeni, and he says, what strategies can be implemented to mitigate cybersecurity risks associated with interconnected solutions for hospital and emergency medical equipment, considering the potential consequences of data breaches on patient safety and privacy? I think that's a very important question.
Yes, that's a very important question. So we focus mainly on having a dedicated VPN. This is a private setup that you incorporate with a local internet service provider. And that we can, normally what we do is we specialize that they ask for a dedicated network only to this hospital group. Secondly, we have a username and password on each medical device, also on the CMS system. This allows for only authorized access. And in terms of cybersecurity, this is mainly focused on the internet service provider. Also, our CMS system and e-gateway does come standard with a firewall to protect from intrusion.
Excellent. I have another question from Andrew Alban. He says, is the e-gateway a physical server or can it be cloud-based?
Yes, it can be both.
Okay.
So we can offer the e-gateway as a server. And then also it can all be cloud-based. It depends on your needs. We have an all-in-one system. So if it's cloud-based, it will run or be accessed from your CMS, whereas a physical server that is a separate or individual setup apart from the CMS setup.
I can see that Simon is grateful for your excellent answer regarding the question on cybersecurity. Another question is, what are the key benefits to the end user and how does this improve patient support?
Uh, Key benefits to the end user. This allows for the monitoring and observation of multiple beds or multiple patients, multiple departments on one screen. This also allows for our early warning score system to detect when a patient might have an incident. This will be alarmed on the CMS. As you see the image in front of you, if an alarm appears, it will highlight. This will give a more efficient and immediate response. Whereas traditionally, you would have a ward or department with a number of beds open, and you would have to identify the alarm from which bed, whereas you sit here in front of a screen and it will identify the patient bed immediately.
Thank you, Luke. And I see also that Andrew Alban is also happy with your answer. So thank you very much for the great presentation and for answering all the questions. I don't see any other question in the chat box. And so I assume that everyone is happy. In the absence of any further questions, I believe then that this is a good place to bring the webinar to a close. And we're finishing quite early today. So thank you everyone for participating in today's webinar. See you again next month. Oh, I see there is, yeah. So feel free, like the post in the chat says, to contact us at admin@kisa.org.za at a later stage if you wish. But thank you all very much for attending the webinar. Enjoy the rest of your evening and see you again next month for another interesting webinar. Thank you.